Yeah, I'm a commercial artist, like illustration design, art direction. I'm independent, so I don't have a boss, so I have to do like a lot of different things to make a living. So basically like whatever anyone will pay me to do, that's what I do. But I did my undergrad in design and I got my master's in illustration. This is the kind of stuff that I do now. This is a deck of sort of tarot cards, but with junk food instead of mystical things. It was published last year by Chronicle. And then like I make stuff like that pen and that shirt to sell in my shop online. Did some stuff for MailChimp earlier this year, and I draw a lot of food. I'm going to show some bad things that I've done. So just remember this. Remember that I'm capable of doing good things. But I feel like it's more productive to show you that like I used to suck really bad. But I got better. Hopefully you agree. This is my family. This is the only reason I don't just like launch myself off of a cliff. That's my partner Lou and our kids Henry and Clementine. They're like why I do anything at all. So I just finished grad school, and it was like a sort of like a seminar program, so I had to sit through a lot of guest lectures. So I understand that it can be very boring. And also, for me, it was like really hard to understand like why they were saying anything that they were saying. Like they're talking about some painting that they did, and I'm like, why? Like, why? I don't care. So when there's a title, it helps me like, you know, have context to like what the person's talking about. So make a lot of stuff, show a lot of people, make a lot of friends, and don't give up, dang it. So my whole like philosophy professionally has been to just make as much stuff as I can all the time. Like even if I don't have client work, just make stuff for myself and always put it online and like on social media and stuff like that so that people are seeing it. And that's the only sort of advertisement that I do is posting work on social media. And like through doing that, I've made a lot of friends with like no ulterior motives, just like meeting people on Twitter or Instagram or whatever and becoming friends with them. And it's crazy how that kind of stuff turns into like real projects. So like I said, I'm independent. So this is really like geared towards people who are wanting to be freelance, just because that's my experience. But I think that it applies to people who are wanting to work in the agency world as well, because it's the same thing. Like you're not going to, most likely, you're not going to get a job at an agency next year and then work at that agency for the rest of your life. You're going to like move around and like find better agencies and better positions, etc. So what I'm going to do is show a bunch of stuff that I made and then just point to like how I got the work, like how I got that project from like meeting someone a few years before or whatever, to just show the value in like making a ton of stuff and always putting it online. And I'm going to try to go fast so that you can ask questions and stuff after, because I feel like that's a little more productive than me just like yammering on. So I did my undergrad in graphic design, and I always loved drawing, but I like got it in my head when I was a kid that either like you were born being able to draw or not. And so like in elementary school, I saw people who could draw a lot better than me, and I was like, oh, I guess I can't draw, which sucks because I really like it, but I can't do it. So I just stopped doing it for forever. And then like 2009, it was like after I was out of school, I wanted to draw. So I just started drawing all the time, like in pocket sketchbooks and stuff like that. And like, this isn't me like trying to be cute. This is me like trying my hardest to draw something realistically. And I'm like an adult, you know? So it wasn't like a cute thing. But I just kept doing it. I was drawing every day and putting it on. This was like in the Flickr salad days, so like Flickr was a huge thing. So I was putting it on Flickr and my blog and Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram and all that. And I was like messing around with humor and stuff and trying to like find not really an audience, you know, because I had like 13 followers. So I'm just trying to find like who I like fit in with, or like where my stuff sits in the industry, I guess. And through doing all those drawings, just like so many, can I swear? Raise your hand if you're going to be mad if I swear. Okay, this guy might have to leave. Just like so many shitty drawings. But like I didn't really know they were shitty. I was kind of proud of them. Anyway, every day just like posting so much garbage on the internet. But I'm like getting better at drawing. And it's not magic. It's just if you do something every day all the time, like you're going to get better at it. And not only was I getting better at drawing, I was finding out like the subjects that I was into, like the things that I like to draw. And the two biggest like trails that I've found myself going down were drawing food and drawing like weird mystical, like semi-religious things. This is Janus. It's a Greek god, I think, with two faces. So doing all these drawings and putting stuff online every day started to actually matter to someone else other than me. These drawings on the left, on your left, were daily drawings that I did. So they're just like personal, like lettering experiments that I did. And an art director at Nike saw them on Instagram, then emailed me with, basically this was the brief. It was like, I saw this drawing, and I want you to do a version of that drawing except for it to say this. So, and like I wish there was footage of me getting the email from Nike, you know, because I'm like, Lou, that's my wife's name is Lou. Lou, this fucking Nike, I got an email from Nike. Like it's not my dad or someone else. So that was like my first like legit job, and it was just from like putting stuff on the internet, which is crazy. And like specifically Instagram. So then I was like every day I'd wake up like I need to post to Instagram. And I still post to Instagram every day. And on top of like just doing work for myself that I wasn't getting paid for, I would do stuff for my friends who, like this on the left, Staycation. This guy, Aaron Cohen, he did a bunch of like themed food events. So it'd be like a BLT harbor cruise, or like he has one called Guacaholics Anonymous, which I think is cool. But I used to live in Boston, and that's where he's based. And so he has these events, and he would need posters. But they're like nonprofit events and all this, so I would do them for him for free. So I did that for Aaron Cohen. Remember that name. I mean, or don't. I'll remind you in like 45 seconds. And then this other one. Does anybody remember Horse eBooks, that Twitter account? That like really weird bot that turned out not to be a bot? You remember? Well, look it up. You'll like it, I promise. Anyway, it was like just a Twitter account that like tweeted nonsensical phrases. This is one of them. So this guy, Tim Lampy, who's in Atlanta, and I met him in Cleveland. I like went to a conference in Cleveland, Weapons of Mass Creation, which I definitely recommend going to. Met him there, and he was doing this project where he got a bunch of people to draw Horse eBooks tweets for free, and I did that, and that matters later. So, like the next big client I got after Nike, maybe it was right before Nike, I can't remember, was Oscar Mayer. And it was because Aaron Cohen like had a friend, he like used to work at a PR firm or something, and he had a friend who'd gone on to be an account executive at this agency in Chicago, and Oscar Mayer was their client. And that person was looking for an illustrator and letterer to do some stuff, and they like asked Aaron if they knew anyone, and he recommended me. So they were doing like the Wienermobiles. There are like 6 Wienermobiles, which I thought there was only one, but there are 6, which is kind of cool. They like start on the East Coast and like have a race across the U.S. to somewhere in California, and each one had like a weird pun name that they came up with. I didn't come up with these, but I got to draw the shirts for like the people who drive the Wienermobiles are called hot doggers. So the hot doggers were wearing these shirts. And like I said, I got that project from being friends with Aaron Cohen, not because I was like famous or like sent Oscar Mayer a postcard or something. Same thing here. This is a really weird and kind of bad rap song called Jose Got Them Tacos, but Young Jeezy was on it, which is cool. I had become friends with this guy on Twitter named Joe Geis. Like, I knew he was a designer, but I didn't really know what. We just had similar interests, so we were always talking on Twitter. And I found out later he's like an art director for MTV and was doing contract work for like record labels in New York. So this guy, Jose, or Cap G, sorry, Jose, Cap G, he was saying he wanted an album cover that was like tacos except $100 bills instead of lettuce. And Joe was like, hey, I know someone who can do that. And so Joe reached out to me, and I got this project, and it's with Atlantic Records, so Like I got to draw this fun thing, and I got to put Atlantic Records on my client list, which is huge because then it makes people think that you're important. This is a logo that I did for an ice cream shop in Boston, and it was started by Aaron Cohen. Remember that? Remember that guy? So like doing all this free stuff. Actually, I did this for free too. Actually, I did this in exchange for a lifetime supply of ice cream, and then I moved away from Boston, so I don't get any ice cream. But it's a cool project to get to do, and like it's cool to be able to like put it in my book and show that I'm like capable of doing like actual design, not just drawing weird hamburgers. And they like hired a sign painter to paint it up there. This is my other friend Tony Long. We were just friends. Same thing, like not like working together. We're just friends. And he's a commercial photographer who does like a lot of editorial and stuff. But I ended up getting a job, like a full-time job as an art director at this shoe retailer. So I was like laying out catalogs and stuff, and I was able to pull Tony in to shoot all the photos. So that's like, I feel like doing stuff for your friends is equally as important as like getting stuff from your friends, you know, because it's not all about just like taking whatever you can get. But this is like a weird, boring thing that like doesn't look like the kind of stuff that I do, but what's cool about it is that I recently moved to Atlanta about a year ago, and like no one knew who I was there, and like I didn't have any connections, and so no one knew like the kind of work that I was capable of doing. But I went to talk to this small agency about like doing some contract work there, and I brought these catalogs in with me, and she had like just gotten an email earlier in the day from Mizuno, the sports brand, and they like needed a catalog. So it was like perfect timing, and like even doing this weird thing that like I enjoyed doing it, but while I was doing it, it felt like kind of like a lateral step. Instead of like pursuing the illustration that I've been doing, I was doing this weird thing that's not illustration at all. It paid off because it just like showed someone what I'm capable of. So now I'm like, I work there like 10 to 15 hours a week doing like art direction consulting, like sitting in on their internal reviews and stuff. Oh yeah, this is my like, hey, turn your phone off. I'm just kidding. Mine's probably gonna ring in a second. This is like my masterpiece. I feel like I'm still like spiritually recovering from drawing all these cards because it was so hard. But right when I got the job at this weird place, Planet Shoes, I got an email from Chronicle Books asking if I had like any projects in the works that I was looking to publish. And I'd been working on this deck of tarot cards that instead of all the like mystical like witches and pentagrams and stuff, I just replaced it all with food. So instead of helping tell your future, it just helps you decide what to eat. And I got published by Chronicle Books last year, like a year ago. And it's for sale on my website. I'm just kidding. And the same time that I was doing that, oh wait, the important thing here is that this editor at Chronicle reached out to me because he had been following me on Instagram. And he said in the email, like, I've been following you on Instagram for a few months, and like I really like your work, and I like keeping up with it. So again, just like a huge project. It's like a huge deal in my life. I still can't believe that I did it. Just from like posting stupid drawings of Bart Simpson or whatever on Instagram. Around the same time that I did that, I got to do these things for Adobe. It was like for another app that they had. I'm not sure if they still have it. It's called Aviary. But now I think you can get these in the new like Creative Cloud stock module or whatever, which kind of sucks for me. But the art director there who reached out to me about doing this, she's my wife's cousin's friend from high school who happened to intern at an agency I was working at like almost 10 years ago. And we just kind of hung out then, and I never really talked to her again. And then much, much later, she's like worked her way up the ladder or whatever and is now in like a senior position at Adobe, and they needed illustrations, and she remembered me and reached out to me. So it's like getting Adobe is really cool, but it's not because I did anything like magic. I was just like friends with someone who happened to start working there. This is the kind of work that I'm doing now. Like most of my stuff usually looks like this, like maximalist, just like pack as much stuff in the frame as I can. The stuff on the left I did for a magazine out of Chicago called Talent Economy. And I got this because when I first went freelance in like 2011, 2012, I got a job in a contemporary art museum, just like one of the kids in black that's like, don't touch the art. Don't turn your flash off. Seriously, don't touch the art. Like, it's art, why are you touching it? So, also, there's like no shame in getting a part-time job while you're trying to make it. I mean, I'm saying that because I had one, but I know a lot of people who do that, and like, I feel like there's just this weird stigma where people don't want you to have a part-time job if you say you're an artist because it makes you like not real or not authentic or something, but I disagree. Anyway, the art director who hired me to do that, her boyfriend worked at that contemporary art museum with me, and so we would hang out every once in a while, and then like years later, they had moved to Chicago, and she's an art director over these like 4 or 5 magazines, and she reached out to me to do that. So, connections, man. This thing on the right is for Jolly. Man, my big head is like right in that one. If I stand here, is that better? That's for Jolly Rancher. It's like this campaign around finals, like targeted to high school kids on, or I guess college kids on Tumblr. Tumblr started an ad agency in 2014 called Creators in LA. And because I've been posting on Tumblr for so long, I have a big following on there, and so the people at Tumblr were like aware of my work and like aware of my practice and everything. So when they started that agency, they reached out to me to do stuff with them, and that was my main client last year, just like doing stuff through Tumblr for bigger brands like Jolly Rancher and Vitamin Water and stuff. We just had a daughter, our second kid, so I stopped doing daily drawings after she was born because it's too much work for me. But this is the kind of stuff that I do. Like, I don't do a drawing every day now, but I usually do like at least one a week, sometimes a couple a week, and I still post them online and everything, but this is the kind of stuff that I do for myself. Just like weird, funny things. Same like subject matter as the very beginning, except, wow, look how much better I am than I used to be, which is cool for me personally. So this is something that I did for MailChimp a couple of months ago, and I'm going to use it to walk you through my process, like how I make stuff, how I draw and everything. Hopefully you find that interesting. So I start with, I like carry around pocket sketchbooks with me, sort of like moleskin-sized sketchbooks, and a lot of times I have like flash, like an idea that's a flash. I like was thinking about something else and I have an idea, so I try to jot it down because I can't keep anything in my head at all. If I think of something and don't write it down, I'll forget it forever. So I was, like, I had gotten the project, and this is a cool project because the only like requirement was that I leave the outline of the MailChimp logo visible in the center. Other than that, I could do whatever I wanted. So it was, the billboard was in Atlanta, and it was next to this place called Krog Street Market, which has a bunch of restaurants in it. So I knew I wanted to do food based on the food that's in Krog Street Market. I just couldn't figure out what to do in the center, like what to do with the logo. And one day I was just sitting there, like, I don't know, not doing anything, and probably holding 2 kids, like just like zombied out because I hadn't slept in forever, and realized like, oh shit, I should do a plate. I should make the logo a plate. So I like drew that out real quick so I wouldn't forget. So I scanned that in, and then did like a digital sketch. I used an iPad, like hooked up to my computer, and tightened the sketch up just a little bit. And then I put that sketch in Illustrator, and I draw everything. Excuse me. I draw everything with like the pen tool and shape tools and everything. It's like using a French curve or like using a ruler or whatever. Just it helps me get like perfect curves and make sure that the perspective and everything is right. And then I'll do a quick color study. That like I'll paste those lines into Photoshop and just use the paint bucket and like fill everything in really quick. And I toggle back and forth between black and white and color to make sure that the contrast is good. And then I'll like delete the color layer. Not delete it, just hide it. Come on. And then draw by hand on top of the vector lines until I get everything looking like I want. And then I'll use the color study as like a guide and go back in and color everything And again, I'm like toggling back and forth between black and white. Then I add shadows and highlights. Look at the difference. God, I didn't think about adding shadows and highlights until I've been an illustrator for like 4 years. I didn't have any classical illustration training, so I don't know, I just didn't think of it. But look at that. I'm still amazed. Every time I put shadows on something, I'm like, yes, I can do this. So for the plate, I literally Googled how to render realistic dinner plate in Photoshop. And there's like this 10-year-old tutorial on like a Russian blog or something that showed you how to render a plate. So I used the outline of the MailChimp logo to make this plate. And then one night after dinner, I was looking at my plate like, oh, yo, this would totally fit on that MailChimp plate. And so I took a picture of it and in Photoshop just like superimposed all the food bits on there and then put them together. And I feel very happy of myself. So this is something that's important to me because this is what it was like for me. Like I had it in my head that I couldn't draw, and I couldn't, but I wanted to. And so, oh, hi, dog. I didn't see you there. So I just decided that I was going to draw, and I drew every day. And I mean, it took a couple of years, but eventually I like understood what I was doing and got better at what I was doing. And now I'm like making a living from drawing weird pictures for people. So if there's something that you want to do, and it doesn't have to be drawing, if it's like branding or like singing or whatever, just like do it every day. There's no, like some people pick it up faster than others, and so it can make you think that like you're not good at something because someone else is better than you. But honestly, there's always going to be somebody that's better than you. So it's not about like being better than someone else. It's just about like pushing yourself to get as good as you can until people see the value in it. These are some resources. Feel free to like take a picture of the screen if you want. But Megan O'Toole is my friend in Boston. She does just like workshops and stuff for, let me get my big old noggin out of the way. Specifically for like people trying to run creative businesses. She does workshops on like how to do a newsletter and how to run your Instagram account and what kind of stuff to say. You probably know about Skillshare, but man, I use that so much. Like trying to learn how to use After Effects and stuff that like wasn't around when I was in school. And then Meetup, that kind of depends on where you live. Like your Meetup could just be like gnarly, like Zen atheists or something who are, I don't know what. But sometimes there's cool stuff on there. Women Who Draw is a super, there's just like so many illustrators and painters on there who are very, very good. Chris Piasek, I usually talk about him in the talk, so this makes more sense, but he's like my mentor, and he's been doing daily drawings for way longer than I have. He's done like 2,500 or something. But he rules, and his work is amazing, and you should follow him everywhere. So usually I give this talk to people who are in undergrad, so I don't know like what your level is, but for me, like if you want to get better at what you're doing and you want to get like consistently good and consistently fast, which is a big thing, like being fast. I was not fast when I graduated undergrad, but now I'm really fast. So if somebody emails me and they need something the next day, I can do it. And like I'm not stressed about it just because I know that I can do it. So like if you're wanting to get to that place, which you should be wanting to get to that place, just like do the thing every day. And if you're a copywriter, like write every day. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be writing an ad or whatever. Like just write every day and like get comfortable with yourself. And then put your stuff online so that other people can see it. And you can like get feedback or even just like find out about, you know, sometimes you post something online and someone's like, oh, that reminds me of this, which is kind of annoying, but also kind of helpful, especially when you're first starting out. Emailing people that you're into, like artistically or whatever, is huge. Like when I was first starting out like 10 years ago, I would email people whose work that I liked for no reason other than just to like tell them that I liked their work. And sometimes that would turn into something. And that wasn't my intention. But I think it's important. I have a friend named Hallie Bateman who said online, it's important to like reach out to artists to tell them that you think their stuff is good, because a lot of artists, myself included, are just have so much self-loathing and like don't think that they're good, and like spend most of the time just sort of like wallowing in like, why am I so bad? And so to like get emails where someone's like, hey, I just wanted to say that I like your work, that's like a huge deal to like spread that positivity. And I think it's cool to do. Also, like going to events, like going to art openings and going to meetups and workshops and stuff and meeting people, that's huge. That's done so much for my career. Just like get a business card. Like you can get a business card in 24 hours. It's not hard. It's not expensive. For like less than $30, you can get 100 business cards in 24 hours. And have them in your pocket and go places and meet people. And that will turn into work for you. I know it. I believe in you. Thank you.